Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and today I am doing the 10 questions tag. This is a manga tag that was created by this person who has a non-pronounceable channel name, and I was tagged by the Anime Corner, so thank you so much for tagging me. I've been waiting to get tagged, sort of like getting picked last for gym. I don't mind, but you know, it's nice to get picked eventually, so thank you for that. I wanted to play too. So I am just going to go through these questions. You've probably heard these answers from me before. I've certainly answered these on my channel before, but you know, why not answer them again? And I like to do tags, as you will see from my history of videos. I do a lot of tag videos. So question number one is, which of the big three do you like the most? I think the current big three is now One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto, although oddly enough, I don't think that Bleach and Naruto belong in the big three anymore because they have both finished publishing. And I always thought that the big three was really an indication of what were the top three things that were current in publication. Because I remember when Slam Dunk was part of the big three. And personally, Slam Dunk is better than all three of those things combined. But of the three that are kind of currently considered the big three, I would say that I probably like Naruto the best, just because I like the young character as he kind of ages throughout the series. I haven't finished reading any of these titles, but I have read a little bit of all of them, probably a similar amount of all of them, and that one's just the one that kind of sticks out for me. It has more characters that I kind of resonated with or relate to, and there was more aspects to it that I just really was engaged with when I was reading it, so I think that's the one that I like the most, although there are good aspects and bad aspects to all of them. Number two is, what is the best new shonen manga after 2015? I actually had to look this up because I don't read very much shonen manga. So I looked at what I've read in the last few years, what I have rated highest in my shonen manga category, because thankfully I tag everything that I read, and there's only two that actually stood out to me. So one is Shularun, A Girl from the Other Side, and the other one is The Boy and His Beast, or The Boy and the Beast. Both are really worthwhile shonen manga. Shularun is just very atmospheric. It is kind of a gothic or folk tale like story, and it has a beautiful illustration. It's just quite different and separate from what you think of when you think of standard shonen manga, particularly if you think of only Shonen Jump shonen manga. It is totally a total sidestep from that. The other is more what you would think of kind of standard shonen manga, but it is a nice, more compact story, and I think that the story itself is just more energetic and more engaging, and the relationships are great, and there are just a few things in it that are kind of turned on their head. So the relationship between the beast and the boy, I really like that dynamic in the story. I have not finished reading either of these, but these are the two current top shonen manga that I've been following and have been releasing since 2015, but there aren't very many. Question number three is, what is your oldest manga? And I have three answers for this. So the very first manga that I ever bought was Wedding Peach. This is by Naoya Yazawa and Sukehiro Tomita. I read Nausicaa. That was the first thing I read. First thing I went and did is went out to buy manga, and my sister and I went together to the bookstore and we bought every single title that they had available, and this was one of them. We both actually ended up buying a copy of Wedding Peach, so there are two volume ones in our collection. It's not the greatest story. It is a magical girl story. I think everyone transforms into brides or bridesmaids. I don't even remember. It's been that long. I have not read it since then, I don't think. And I certainly have not finished reading it, and I think I only bought like one of the last volumes last year, so it's been recently, you know, started to complete, and I've been collecting this for a long time. The oldest published manga in Japanese that I have is the Four Immigrants manga, Japanese Experience in San Francisco, 1904 to 1924, by Henry Yoshitaka Kiyama. So anyway, this is the oldest. How I would define manga in my collection, it certainly was written by a Japanese author for a Japanese audience, and that's really the core definition of manga in my opinion. So written in the very early 1900s for a Japanese audience, except for that the audience was in North America at the time. And then the oldest in English that I own is this volume of Astro Boy, or issue of Astro Boy. It's a key comic, or gold key comic, from 1965, and this is not, I would actually say, technically manga, because it was actually written by an English-speaking person for an English-speaking audience, and it was actually written without the consent or permission of Osamu Tezuka, who was the creator of Astro Boy. But because it is so strongly linked to such a recognizable, iconic manga character, I still kind of, it still ties in, and I would still kind of classify it as that. I put it in my room with my manga rather than out sort of in the hall with the comic books. This, I would say, is probably my oldest, at least my oldest in English. And even if you don't say it's manga, it sort of is manga. So question number 4 is the reverse of that question. So this is, what is the newest manga that you have? I recently actually went to the bookstore and I only picked up 1 volume of manga, and you should be very, very proud of me. Although when you see my haul coming up probably at the end of the month, you will be very, very disappointed in me. But at the moment, just be proud of me, knowing that I have only bought this 1 volume of manga. It kind of was amazing. And that is Mushroom Girls in Love by Kei Murayama, and this is a Yuri story about, I think, sort of post-apocalyptic. There are no male characters, and males just cease to exist, and it's just females left. And this is a story about 2 mushrooms who have decided that they have fallen in love and they want to get married. Some adventure happens. I think that's basically what it is. I wouldn't say it's the greatest story, but the art in it is rather cute. Let's see. The art in it is rather cute, and I really appreciated the way that this was set up. It does have sort of almost like an encyclopedia of the types of mushrooms that you would see in the story and what their jobs are. And then it also talks, there's a little bit of actual text in the middle that describes what mushrooms do and how they work. Or how their community works. So there is actually a little bit of an explanation. It's just a one-shot. It's kind of a fun little story, and it's really cute. So I enjoyed reading it, and it is the most recent manga that I picked up. Number 5 is, who's your favorite manga character? Rayleigh-chan from Dr. Slump. Number 6 is, who in manga do you consider your best waifu / husbando? I don't. Number 7 is, what's your guilty pleasure manga? I probably would say something like Sensual Phrase by Mayu Shinjo, just because it's a terrible manga, but I really like reading it. I'm really kind of addicted to it when I read it, but I don't recommend it. The art in it is awful, the characters are awful, the story, just the whole thing is really awful, but there's something about it that just like drags me into it, and I just love to read it. Another one is Venus in Love, and I can't think of who the author is, but I'm not sure if it's actually the writing or if it's the translating, but it is really, really stilted, awkward writing, and the transitions between panels are incredibly awkward, but I just really like reading it. It's incredibly comfortable in a way that very few other manga are comfortable for me. So yeah, I really like those 2. There's lots. I'm not, I don't really feel guilty about reading manga, but there are certainly ones that I know when I'm reading them that I really like are not good. And they're ones that I don't recommend to people. Number 8 is, how do you organize your manga collection? My manga is organized by size first, and by alphabet next. So there are a few shelves that hold specific size books, and really, unfortunately, publishing is increasing the size of books. There used to be primarily that standard small Viz kind of shonen jump size manga, and now there are more and more of the Viz signature size, like trim size manga. And then if you take into consideration that I also buy manga from other publishers, so people like Fantagraphics and Drawn and Quarterly and even Vertical create these non-standard size volumes. So I have one kind of narrow bookcase that houses all of the tall size manga, or hardcovers, anything that really doesn't fit on the regular shelves. And then we just have Billy bookshelves. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 now, which are full and double stacked. And at the top and the bottom we can fit the Viz signature size manga, so we do, and they are all alphabetical within that size. And then on the others we double stack all of the standard size manga, again all alphabetized. So it really is just a way for us to fit as much as we can, as well as be able to find things, because it's a lot easier to find it by title than it is by author or by genre or by publisher. Particularly if you have a collection as old as ours, where the publishers kind of take turns. It might drop somewhere else and someone else will pick it up, so there's no way for us to really organize things that way. It doesn't make any sense. The only thing that we kind of have in its own little space is that we do have a closet that has also a bookshelf in it, and on that bookshelf we keep our light novels, our yaoi manga, and all of our box sets. So really things that just sort of fit into those categories go in our closet. And it is just sort of a nice way to collect all those things together, because they really didn't fit on our standard shelves. There isn't as much room for those, just slightly larger trim size, which is what most yaoi titles, at least earlier, were published in. So we had to kind of find a place to put them, and it is nice to keep them all together, so that's what we did. So really it's just about economy, so if we can fit it, we do, and it's really structured, just it's in order. Unfortunately we can't do things in a fancy way anymore, it just doesn't make any sense for us. Number 9 is who's your manga / anime hero. I don't have heroes. I don't do that. Characters are just characters, and I don't even know how to answer this, because the characters just are not heroes to me. Like they're writing and drawings, so I don't really equate them as those things. But if you wanted to actually talk about like people who are my heroes in manga and anime, probably just people who are involved in publishing, people who are involved in translating, people who work in academia, and of course any author or any illustrator who works in manga whose work I appreciate. Those are my heroes. But as far as characters go, I don't have any. Number 10 is, what is a manga series that you have dropped? I don't know that there's technically any series in my collection that I have dropped or will be dropped. There are series that I have put on hiatus, so I'm not currently buying them. They're not my priorities, so I will be buying other things at the time. Things like Gintama, I bought until volume 6. I stopped buying it. I know that it is now stopped publishing in English, so there's really kind of a limited number of titles, or limited number of volumes for me to be able to pick up. I'm not going out of my way to pick those titles up, but if I see them at secondhand sales, I certainly will add to my collection. It's not a title that I have dropped permanently, it's just not a priority, and I know that because I've been collecting for so long that these titles will eventually end up in my collection. I'm not in a rush to add them. The same goes for Arata by Yu Watase. Recently there was Honey So Sweet, I can't remember who the author is, and also something right behind me, Red Riding Hood and the Big Sad Wolf. That's only a 2-volume series, but I decided not to pick up the new volume 2. I will wait until I can find it secondhand, because it's not worth that much to me. There are other books in my collection that I would rather be investing in and collecting now and getting in good condition, and there's others where I'm not as concerned about the condition or the timeline for when I'm going to pick it up. Others include, I can see across the room here, Fairy Cube. That's a Karumori. I think that's her name. I can't really see from this distance, but that was a series I didn't really care for, so I stopped buying it. But if I see it at a sale, I will pick up the rest of the volumes. That's really how it works in my collection. So I don't know that I've technically dropped anything, but I certainly have things that are incomplete in my collection that I stopped buying temporarily. But, you know, I assume that eventually and someday they will end up in my collection, and I assume that I will go back and actually read them again. So I'm not as concerned about what I am and am not picking up. I think the way that I collect is sort of a little different than I think most people do it, and also I think it's probably not the best way for most people to collect. I think it's better to really be buying the titles that you want to be reading, not buying titles that you don't want to read. For me, I like to read even titles that I hate to read, so I have no problems having anything in my collection. It's just that I'd rather be buying the titles that I really love at the time or know will be harder to collect in the future. So yeah, that's how I do that. So those are all of my answers to those questions. Hopefully you found that interesting. I will leave any names for anyone that I've tagged down below in the description, so go and check out, see if your name is there. And if it's not, and you still haven't done this, feel free to call yourself tagged by me, and please do this video, let me know, and I will go and check it out. Anyway, thank you so much to Anime Corner for tagging me, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.